Good morning. Good morning, partners. It's good to see y'all this morning. I'm Kevin. If you don't know me, I'm the owner of Well Launched. If you know me, welcome back. Today, we are going to talk about some important things. As an entrepreneur, I'm constantly faced with two types of fear, and I think they're on opposite ends of the spectrum, right? So there's the fear of rejection as a new business, trying to get out there, trying to make my name known, trying to introduce myself to people. And then there's the fear of failure, because if I fail, then there goes my ship that's sailing me and my family along on the seas of life. And so those are on the forefront of my mind. And I would imagine and expect that you also face that if you are a young or new entrepreneur, or maybe you still feel that as an seasoned entrepreneur. Whatever the case may be, we're going to talk about it here today. Now, if you were with me yesterday, you know that we did a demo, and it was a bit of a train wreck, and it was fun. It was great. I recovered well, but today we're going to make up for that. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is I'm going to call WL. I'm going to see if he can encourage me dealing with my fear of failure. Let's see what happens.
Thank you for calling Well Launched. My name is WL. What's your name?
Hey, WL, my name
I
is
didn't quite
Kevin.
catch that. Could you please tell me your...
Sorry, WL, my name is Kevin, and I was calling
It's great.
because I am starting a new business. I'm doing live streams now, and I'm terrified. I have a fear of rejection, and I'm just terrified. Can you help me out with that?
Kevin, I completely understand how you feel. It's normal to have fears, especially when it comes to putting yourself out there, like with live streams. Rejection can be tough to deal with, but I want you to know that it's a common experience many entrepreneurs and creators face. Even I've had my share of rejections, and I've learned that it's not a reflection of one's worth or abilities. It's often about finding the right fit or timing. Can you tell me a bit more about what specifically is making you feel terrified about live streaming? Is it the fear of not being good enough or something else?
Well, it's the fear that no one will care. You know what I mean? It's like, am I a master guru? Am I an expert in all these things? I just fear that no one will care and that they'll reject me and that I'll have no hope for the future. What do you say?
Kevin, I completely understand where you're coming from. It's natural to have those doubts, especially when you're putting yourself out there. But here's the thing. People don't need a master guru to resonate with them. They need someone who's authentic, passionate, and willing to share their knowledge and experiences. And it sounds like you're already taking that first step with your live streams. As for being an expert, I want to reassure you that nobody starts out at...
I got an incoming call that jammed me up, and it ended my call. Let me delete that. Sorry. Look, I'm gonna end that there because that actually that proved my point right there. That proved my point. What point? My point yesterday was when I hit a hiccup, right? As an entrepreneur, I need to adjust and adapt, and I did that. So with my AI agent, I asked him to comfort me, and he just kept repeating the same thing. Oh, I can tell you about my business. It's like, comfort me. Oh, I can tell you about my business. And it wasn't set up to comfort, but then I went ahead and I programmed it to be comforting. And so it did that for me, and that was really great and really helpful. I think that was so cool. I'm kind of upset that it got interrupted because it was laying gems out there. Really quick though, if you don't know what Well Launch does, we produce premium websites, awesome booking solutions, and AI voice assistants. That is WL. That is my AI voice assistant. He's programmed to tell you all about Well Launched, to collect your data and information so that I can help you build and grow your business. And now he's configured to encourage you if you need help. So yeah, that was really cool. And WL made some great points. I think that as an entrepreneur, for me at the very least, it's something on my mind constantly that if I'm not perfect, if I'm not great, if I'm not exactly what the whole wide world needs, that there's no place for me in the landscape. And that holds me up at times. It's like there are times when I know I need to go out there and get it. I know I had to go out there and make myself known, introduce myself to people. And I run into this fear of, what if they say no? What if they don't want to hear me out? What if they're not interested at all in what I've got to say? And that there is a fear of rejection. Now that stems from some other things in my life that we can talk about later. But it made me think about the topic for today because, either we have that fear of, that fear of rejection can lead you to fail. And so if you have a fear of failure, those things they're not going to go well. Like you're going to be so afraid to be rejected that you make it inevitable that you'll fail. And that's not something that I want to live with, especially as an entrepreneur, someone who is a business owner. My business cannot be subject, right, to this fear of rejection. I will be rejected. That's a fact, right? But my business is solid. It's good. It does what it needs to do. And therefore, I will be successful if I continue, right? So that brings me to this, and I want to touch on this quickly, and then I want to go to someone who I consider an expert to talk a little bit about how to develop confidence amidst this fear. But what I want to think about is the difference between, right? Hold on, let me sip this, Joe. I have to remind myself I'm live streaming. I can be natural. But the difference between a healthy and a godly fear and a sinful fear, right? So for instance, in the Bible, there's all these things that happen, right, where God shows his might and his glory and his power, and it brings his people to a healthy, reverent fear of God. It's not a fear that God will do anything sinful or evil to them. It's a fear because God is the creator of all things. He's almighty and all powerful, and this is the God who we are called to serve, right? So there's this reverence there. There's this fear that God could destroy us, but if he did, it'd be righteous and it'd be holy. And so we should respond accordingly with obedience and love to him because he's good. And he's not just powerful, but he's also gracious and kind and so on. So there's a healthy fear, right? So as an entrepreneur, there should be a healthy fear that because, we go as business owners, as entrepreneurs, as servants, right? We go out to serve people, and there's a lot of trust that has to be had because there's a lot of responsibility on us, right? If somebody trusts me with their valuable information, if somebody trusts me with, helping their business grow, if I fail, it doesn't just impact me, it impacts them. So I should take that with a sense of humility and a sense of reverence for the trust that they have for me, and I should do my utmost best because of that tension there, that healthy tension of I need to serve them so that we can both be successful or else we both might fail, right? But then there's a sinful fear where it's like, I'm not going to go and pitch my business to this dentist today because I'm terrified that I'll come in and they'll judge me based on this, or they'll leave me in the waiting room for a long time, or they'll just say no, or they'll just yell at me, tell me get out of here, right? They'll ban me from their office. What is that based on? That's not based on, the quality of my business. That's not even based on the character of the person I intend to speak to, especially if I don't know them. If I don't know that's the case, it's not based on that. That is, I think, a sinful fear because that is a way that we reject what God has for us. Like as business owners, right, there are things for us, right? There are people we are meant to serve. And when we stop ourselves from going out there and finding those people because we're afraid of something we made up in our minds, I think that's a sinful fear. It's not helpful to anybody, not to them, not to us. And it certainly doesn't exemplify how God made us and what he made us for. And so I want us to do our best to stay out of the zone of that sinful, self-deprecating, made up fear. And I want us to have that reverent fear that tells us if I don't go out and serve the people I'm called to serve and to go find them, then somebody is missing what the Lord has for them through me, right? And Lord will provide for them another way, but I might also be missing what the Lord has for me via me serving those people. He'll provide for me also, but let's stay there in the healthy fear so that we're driven by something that keeps us waking up every morning, doing what we got to do, and being a blessing and of service to people that need it. So with that said, if we are going to go out there and have this godly confidence and to overcome this sinful fear, we've got to have some perspective, right? So let's go to someone that I find is I think they're an expert. You know what I mean? His name is Myron Golden. I've never done this before. I hope I don't get like a copyright strike or something. It's a very short video. We're gonna go and we're gonna see what Mr. Golden is talking about here. He's gonna talk to us about how to develop confidence. Let's see what we got. Here we go. And no, I don't work in a waterfall. It's just my camera and my mics are right next to a pipe where water goes. Okay, got to get a better office one day, Lord willing. Here we go.
So two people come together, they would kill an animal, they would walk in a circle, they would take a knife in their left hand, cut their right hand, put their hands together, bind it together with a rope. The word covenant means to cut. And they would make a promise on their life saying, if I don't keep my word to you, may what happened to this animal happen to me.
Okay, let me pause it real quick. I'm just pausing it so I don't get a copyright strike. The first time I heard about this type of covenant was when God made a covenant with Abram. He put Abram to sleep. He took a calf and some other animals and he cut them in half. And then rather than God and Abram walking through like he's describing when two people go amongst the pieces that are cut in half and saying, if I don't keep my covenant, let this happen to me. Abram didn't go through the pieces. He went to sleep. God went through the pieces saying, whether I'm not going to break the covenant, I'm God. But even if you break the covenant, let this happen to me. That's how we get in the Old Testament, fingers pointed towards Jesus dying for our sins. I'm just saying, that's the first time I heard about that covenant. It's a beautiful thing, but let's hear what he's got to say about confidence.
What if your word, the things you say, became a covenant that you make with yourself? So now you can trust yourself.
Let me pause there. I'm doing this mainly for copyright, but isn't that so amazing? Like, as an entrepreneur, I know for me, a lot of times I feel because of my past failures that it's hard to trust myself, right? And that's no good. But part of the reason people lose trust in one another and we lose trust in ourselves is when we don't do what we say we're going to do. We don't follow through. And then other people can't trust us, they can't rely on us, and we find we can't rely on ourselves. So let's see what he says about it.
Because you'd rather die in honor keeping your word than live in dishonor and not keep your word. Like, the game would change for you forever. Because now you don't go through life sticking your toe in the water that could elevate your ship and take you to a place you've only dreamed of in the past.
Let me just touch on that for a second. He's saying you're sticking your toe in the water, right? The water could rise and elevate your ship, but you're just sticking your toe in the water. In order for water to rise, a significant mass needs to be dropped into the water. So a toe is not going to make anything rise. You see what I mean? That it's like, oh, goodness gracious, keep going, my boy.
You don't stick your toe in that water anymore. You dive in the water, and then you start building your ship after you're in the water. You figure it out on the way.
Wow.
So two people come together.
That's so cool. That is so cool that he said that. It's so interesting to me. He says you dive in the water, and then you build your ship while you're in the water. Now, literally, I just said, for water to rise, a mass has to drop in so that, and then the water rises. So first he's saying, dive in the water. That rises your ship. That rises the water. And then build your ship while you're in there. That ship is more mass. And building that ship allows it to rise even more. I just thought that was pretty interesting. We'll leave that there for now. But, what it sounds like he's saying, and what I'm taking from that is, the lukewarmness of saying, well, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to do this business, but I'm really going to leave one foot on the shore. I'm really going to just, not give it my all. I'm going to hold a little back just in case I don't win. That's not a healthy way to do anything. I mean, even if it's not a business, even if you are going to get a job and you go to that interview and you say, yeah, I'm gonna do the job, but really I'm gonna leave a little bit on the side for me in case I want to start a business one day. I'm just gonna keep a little bit back. Like, that's not your way to management. That's not your way to success, right? That's you being selfish and sinfully fearful because you're not sure that what you're going for is gonna work out, or you're not doing it genuinely. You're not starting doing this business so you can genuinely serve and be effective to people. You're doing it so that you can have a benefit. I mean, yes, I want to benefit from my business. I want to make money and take care of my family, right? But there's no way I can do that if I don't have a heart for service. I have to be willing and able and ready to serve as many people as I'm capable of doing without, disappointing my family, because that's my first calling as a man, is to take care of my family. But I have to, I've got to, and as long as my business doesn't keep me away from serving God, like, I'm good. Like, I have to do as much of that as humanly possible in order for me to be successful. You know what I mean? So as an entrepreneur, really think about this. Like, what's holding you back? Is it the fear of rejection, or is it the fear of failure? Now, in this case, I'm using sinful and healthy fear as the dichotomy, right? So when we're talking about fear of failure, we're not talking about, I'm not going to go out because I might not win. Like, how about we as entrepreneurs be afraid that if we don't go out there and give our best and multiply our talents and give our all and be of service, that we will fail to serve those in need, to serve those who God made us for, who we're meant to serve, who we prepared ourselves to be able to serve. Because if we don't do that, yes, there is a fear that our wives, our children, our families won't be taken care of. You know what I mean? And that's not something we should be willing to live with. We should be more willing to overcome the fear of rejection, to go out there, do our live streams, do our pitches, do our cold calls, do our meetings, do our demos, whatever we got to do, right? So that we can take care of people. Those people will take care of us, and that'll allow us to, Lord willing, abundantly take care of the people who we're called to take care of, like our families. Like, that should be the thing. Like, set aside the sinfulness. It's just like, oh my goodness, it's just like biblical principles of how we should live before God. When you set aside your sinfulness and you flee from sin, right? You have more of a healthy relationship with the Father. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Bible says that to those who are faithful, God shows himself faithful, right? That's not saying that God is more faithful to people who are more faithful, because God doesn't care. Like, he's not blessing us because we're so faithful. Like, nobody in the Bible was so faithful that they got blessed. God blesses us even though we're sinners. That's the beauty of the gospel, right? But to those who are faithful, walking in his ways, fleeing from sin, we can look upon God with a bright and clear conscience, right? Joyfully looking at our Father and knowing not just that he's provided us salvation and guilt-freeness, but knowing that we are reciprocating with a glad and a servant heart before God, and there's less of that tension that we create in ourselves when we're walking uprightly. That's why when we show ourselves faithful, we have the clear conscience to look at God and see him as faithful, not see him as, not see other things that we might conjure up in our minds. So I think in that similar way, when we let go of that sinful fear of rejection, we're able to see more clearly who we're meant to serve, who we're able to serve, and we're more able to go out there and get it and to provide for those we're meant to provide for. And that's how we overcome that fear of failure, the negative fear of failure, as we adapt the healthy, godly fear of failing those who need us, right? So, I hope that was encouraging. I really do hope that was encouraging. That's all I got for now. We're gonna, oh man, I went 5 minutes over. We're at 20 minutes. I'm sorry, I went on a roll, but hopefully that was beneficial to you. Yeah. So for now, y'all, I hope that y'all are well launched on your journey. If not, hit me up. By the way, this month of October, the first 3 people to sign up with me, I'm waiving your sign-up fee for the base model of the website, the booking, and the AI voice assistant. The next 5, I'm cutting that in half. And then if you want to go up from the base model to another model, we can do that as well. We'll figure that out as we go. So, yeah, guys, dive in, get ready, and let's launch. I'll see you next time. Peace.